It's a weird time in wrestling right now, and that's the understatement of the century. It's a very, it's a hard time to be a WWE fan. Really hard time to be an NXT fan. Now, follow that up with two really, really bad pre-taped episodes of NXT, one of which I didn't even review last week, and a lot more bad news behind the scenes and whatever. Tonight was interesting. Tonight had an interesting job. Tonight had to be good. It really did. For those of us that like NXT and want to keep liking NXT, it needed to be good because we went starving for 2 weeks on two really, really bad pre-taped sci-fi shows. And for the rest of the piranhas out there that just want to AEW, I'm sure they were waiting to take on full-on Vulture mode. So tonight really needed to be good. Was it good? Let's talk about it. Well, that was one of the most dramatic intros I've done in a while, isn't it? What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and I am indeed here for your NXT review for August 10th, 2021. What's going on? I know you haven't seen my face in a couple of weeks. We've been doing other stuff, but I haven't come face-to-face with you guys. I did review the first of the two pre-taped shows, and basically I told you what I thought of that show, and then the next one I didn't even review it because it was just bad. And it's awkward because NXT's in the same boat as WWE right now, and I really hate to say that, but I'm really looking forward to SummerSlam. SummerSlam looks good. The matches that we know are happening look good. I mean, we need to redo Belair and Banks, don't we? Because, yeah. But the rest of SummerSlam looks really good. The shows to get us there are like crawling through molasses in January. And the stuff that we're getting at TakeOver 36, which I'm going to be talking about throughout the night tonight, are also really good. Like, really, like if you had told me a year ago there was going to be a card with this lineup on it, I would have been pumped. Now, little bit of me wishes NXT was a bit longer, and I know that's sacrilege because part of the appeal of a TakeOver is that they're relatively short. But there's two matches happening on next week's NXT that we're going to get to later on that I wish they had just thrown on the card. I mean, like, it's coming from the CWC. We're going to have the CWC crowd. It's not going to be the full arena experience because NXT is going to be the last ones to get anything, are they not? I mean, we're 13 bodies down as of last week. We don't need to talk about it. My boy Bronson Reed. They did my boy Bronson Reed dirty. I don't like it. I had a point. I was going somewhere with that. Anyways, so the TakeOver should be good, and NXT the past 2 weeks has been really, really crap, but even when it was crap, it was structural, and it was getting us towards things that I like, so that's really frustrating, and I know I've beaten that point into the ground before, especially when talking to the main roster. I mean, Goldberg versus Lashley is going to be fun. Roman versus... who the hell is Roman taking on? Roman's taking on Cena. That's how much I'm paying attention. We got Rollins and Edge and all these matches that I want to see, and Raw is Raw, and SmackDown's trying. I'll give SmackDown a thing, like they're trying. They did the thing at Rolling Loud that was crap, but they are actually trying. But it's like crawling, like I say, crawling through molasses in January is a cliche metaphor, but it's true. It's a week and a half away, and it feels a million miles away. SummerSlam's good. The shows stink. NXT TakeOver, also really, really good. The stuff that we already knew about, the stuff that was confirmed tonight, mostly really good. I mean, we can get to the $1 million stuff when we get to it, but you guys know what I think about that anyways. But the rest of the card looks good, and then we had traipsed through these pre-taped episodes for sci-fi and whatever, and I want to reiterate it one more time. I do have a small amount of understanding for what NXT did, and let's be real. AEW did the same thing when they were on the wrong night, when they were flipping between Fridays and Saturdays before they could get back onto their proper night. They really phoned it in. They gave you some fun stuff, but they phoned it in. NXT, having to do pre-taped shows, knew the spoilers were going to get out, didn't want to give away anything too much, so they kind of phoned it in. And I get that, but it didn't mean on the night that there was anything that I even wanted to... First one I went off on. Second one I said, just fuck it, me and Jake will find something better to talk about. It's like I say, we're in a weird place. But Speaking of Jake, I gotta send a shout out to him. We did 2 back-to-back topical videos. The first one was talking about the possible or probable or pretty much definite arrivals of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan in AEW, along with Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia, and that kind of thing. The second one was about the release of Bray Wyatt. I got a lot more thoughts on that since we've done that video. Is Adam Cole possibly next? The cancellation of Max Caster and Charlotte Flair, which is apparently true. If you read the news today, apparently Max Caster is suspended for 2 months and has to go to sensitivity training. Ugh, I hate the world. I really, really do. And we also talked about how NXT, to show you that I'm not biased, I'll shit on NXT too, how NXT are basically booking Io Shirai to be a racist. Let's talk about all of that fun stuff. But yes, we're going to talk about NXT tonight because NXT was back in front of the live CWC crowd, back in a live environment, and that's all well and good. But shout out to Jake for those for joining me on those particular videos. Shout out to Jake as well for joining me on the late NXT reviews that I've done recently, where I've missed a night and had to do one later on in the week. It just makes things a whole lot easier. Guapo is going to be back on here shortly, guys. We have at least one topical video in the can that we got to do. We're going to be talking about All Out. Obviously, I mean, Jake and I are going to talk about at least TakeOver, if not TakeOver and SummerSlam at some point, and Flicks Fix will happen whenever it happens. I have seen Black Widow. I have seen Suicide Squad. I did finish watching Loki. There is a lot to talk about. It's just, you know, everybody has a schedule, and it is what it is. We've potentially got new methods and new methodologies for NXT coming along with these releases that they've done, which is something that we can talk about. We can't talk about it really tonight because we didn't really see any of it tonight other than the people that aren't there anymore. But we're still in the CWC. The CWC still looks the same. The show kind of flowed. The show actually, the first bit of credit I'll give the show right off the bat, and I'm all over the place, guys, because I haven't done this in a little bit. The first thing I will give the show is the show tried to give us a little bit of everything tonight. When it kind of dragged in the past couple of weeks and it just sort of did the bare bones, let's go from A to B to C to get to the matches that we know we're getting at the pay-per-view, to stuff that was a little bit more fun. This show tonight moved quickly, gave you a lot, and tried to give you a little bit of everything. Now, does that include some things that you guys know I'm not a fan of? Yes, but at least it brings it back to, hey, we're not in the shitty pre-taped sci-fi episodes anymore. But before we get into the actual show, it does say right there in my scribbly notes, hey Spaz, don't be a dumbass, make sure you plug the socials. So, if you're listening to me in an audio platform right now, you want to find me on YouTube, go to YouTube, search Spaz Phoenix. If you're watching me right now, pretty sexy face in the gimmick hat that you haven't seen in a while, go to an audio platform and search Spaz Phoenix Podcast. It's all good. Go to Twitter. Go to Twitter twice. Go to Spaz Phoenix, go to Spaz Phoenix 1. Follow both of them. Go to Instagram, search Spaz Phoenix. Go to Facebook, search the Spaz Phoenix Podcast Facebook group, and throw some comments down in the box below so that YouTube can stop yelling at me. Now that I've gotten through all of that, please join me as we get into the adventure that is August 10th's NXT review. Immediately after the intro, after a little bit of recap of what happened last week and a little bit of a preview of what we're getting tonight, mostly focusing on Cole, O'Reilly, Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and the debut of ILJA Dragunov, which I was really excited about. We go to the commentators really quickly that give us the brief bit of news that Ember Moon will not be part of the show tonight. She has not been medically cleared. Now, she was set to go against SARRAY, which I was looking really forward to, but her replacement is none other than the #1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship, Dakota Kai, which is all okay by me. Here's the thing I'm going to say, and we will talk about this at more length when we get into the TakeOver preview. I have nothing against Raquel Gonzalez. Raquel Gonzalez is athlete as fuck, don't get me wrong. Happy for her, happy to have her have a title reign. But Dakota Kai is the more interesting character, and I am going to be pulling for Dakota Kai because I've been pulling for Dakota Kai since before Raquel Gonzalez was a thing on NXT. Me and Jake, as you guys know, way back before COVID, in the before time, in the long ago, when we were previewing TakeOver Portland, we were predicting her street fight with Tegan Nox, who's unfortunately now on the main roster, to be the Dark Horse match of the night. And that night was the night that Raquel Gonzalez debuted. So I'm sorry, my backing in that match is going to be for Dakota Kai, and I think I'm going to be heartbroken. Now, Dakota Kai versus Sarray is really, really cool. Dakota Kai comes out first, quickly talks some shit about Raquel Gonzalez, talks about her being named as the #1 contender, because I don't think it was confirmed on the show last week. I think it was confirmed throughout the week on social media. So get out there, get out on the live mic and confirm that to the crowd for those of us that don't live on Twitter like we all do, so that's kind of irrelevant. But anyways, she goes... she swats away a handshake from Sarray, because Sarray is just... I love the combination that you get with Sarray, and it's personified in her music. It starts off all happy and shit, and then, like, the more grindy bit of the music comes in. It's kind of like the Drake Maverick Killian Dane. Remember when Killian Dane was a thing? But remember their music, how it was half happy and half, like, this sort of harder rock thing. Her music kind of does the same thing, and she is the same thing, because she's really, really... hyper positive, happy to be there, and then kicks your head off, which is awesome. But she wanted to start with a respectful handshake to start the match. It was swatted away by Dakota Kai, and immediately goes into the collar and elbow type. Kai works on the wrist. Sarray, I can't read my writing, I swear. Sarray reverses into a key lock, palm strikes by Kai, corner uppercuts by Sarray, springboard and an arm drag by Sarray, front slam, leg lock, face lock combination by Sarray. I don't know, does anybody know what that move is called? Where she basically gets her in the Indian Deathlock and then bridges into the face lock as well. I don't even think they have a name for it on commentary. It's just one of those, oh, look at how she's stretching her out type things. And I would like to know if that has a name, because I just would. You guys know me. I try to get the names. Insane single leg crab by Sarray as well. Basically grabs her one leg and then bends herself over and bends Kai over as well. Now, it does go back to the Kai and Nox feud when you think about how much both of them have had problems with their legs. When you see them get bent in half like that, it is a little bit extra effective. It's like when a Daniel Bryan or an Edge gets a shot to the neck, and it's like, okay, it's probably safe, but we really don't want you to end up in the hospital. Sorry, local medical facility again. Fisherman suplex with a bridge with a bridge. You can tell I like this match because I'm talking my way through it really fast. Fisherman suplex with a bridge, which should probably actually be Fisherwoman suplex with a bridge because it's a women's match, right? Anyways, by Sarray, it's really pretty, and it also sends us into commercial break. Forearm shots by Sarray as we come back from the commercial break. Belly to back toss suplex by Sarray is really cool because Sarray isn't that big, but she's deceivingly strong, and this is where I'm going to go with that. We didn't get Stark on the show tonight, but she's also the same way. She's not huge, but she's deceivingly strong as well. Hard Irish whip by Kai and a haluva kick. Both of them trade some shots in the center of the ring. Scorpion kick by Kai. Kind of misses the mark a little bit, not going to lie. Bottom rope drop kick by Sarray that nearly takes off Dakota Kai's head. Boot by Kai. Gonzalez arrives at the rampway. A few attempts at a roll-up by Sarray. There's a haluva kick. Sorry, I should say she arrives at the arena, not at ringside. That's my bad. My writing is terrible. Haluva kick by Kai gets the win that Kai needs going into a pay-per-view. Let's be real. Sarray, every time she comes out, looks amazing, and she looked amazing in this match. Just, if Dakota Kai wasn't in the title match right now, I would have given Sarray the win here, because a win over Dakota Kai, who's not an ex-champion, but has always been sort of in that stratosphere, would have been really cool for her. But, you gotta think about the fact that in a week and a half she's going into a title match at a TakeOver, and at least to NXT, they still hold TakeOver in high regard, as they should, as we should be able to. But because the internet exists, we know that WWE main roster just jobbed out Dakota Kai to ILJA on main event, so they had to compensate here somewhere. We don't get much interaction after the match because Kai goes to sort of set up a post-match assault on Sarray. Looks like she's going to hit her with another haluva kick, but Gonzalez charges the ring, chases her out of the CWC, talks some mad shit, does the pretty generic, angry sort of friend, but sort of now I'm going to kick your ass, hey, if you wanted a title shot, all you had to do was ask, type of thing. Very simple, and what I will say about a lot of this show tonight, very, very simple, very, very by the numbers, but it did what it needed to do, and like I say, with the amount of stuff that they tried to cram into this show, you didn't need a 5-minute, like, promo train. Or you didn't need a 5-minute back and forth. Trust me, we got that later on in the night. And I'm going to go through this quickly because this is some of the not-so-great shit. We recap Loomis versus Gargano from last week, the Love Her or Leave Her match, where the stipulation was ruled irrelevant 5 seconds after the match. The Garganos sit around the kitchen table talking about how we have to sort of go along with Index going on a date because we don't want her running away like Austin Theory did. And Austin Theory's going to the main roster, and I don't know. do one of these for Austin Theory, but that's okay. We set up weird index date stuff, and the Garganos play the overprotective parents, and they set up plans to stalk the date, which is wonderful, I guess. Now, go from that backstage weirdness, and as I always say, the index stuff, the Dexter Lumis stuff, wouldn't bug me so much if it wasn't infesting the Way, which is one of the cooler things in NXT. Now, I don't know if the Way is a thing anymore, because Indy Hartwell's going to go one way, Austin Theory's probably already on the main roster, and I don't even want to say it out loud, but apparently, if you listen to the right dirt sheets and whatever, Gargano and Candice LeRae are the next on the chopping block. And that blows my mind. And we know why, you know, no more older wrestlers and no more midgets is apparently the quote from Vince or whoever's running things. And we might be losing Adam Cole. You just put Balor back on the main roster. You get rid of Gargano, and out of the 4 pillars of NXT that I always talk about, you'll have one left, and he's in a tag team right now in the middle of the card. It's not good. As I say, depending on what they do with NXT, depending on how catastrophic what they do to NXT is, there may, and I'm not just doing this, stay tuned to find out more. There may be some changes on this channel, depending on how badly they fuck up NXT. Because, and I'm not a news guy. You guys know I don't typically do the news thing. If we're going to talk about newsworthy stuff, I usually have Jake on here with me, because he's able to provide a lot more context than I am. Because it's not my forte, but I've heard and read and seen from enough different people that even the USA Network themselves are not happy with the plans that are coming for NXT. So that doesn't infuse you with much confidence, does it? Hit Row in the back, standing around a bonfire in a bin, which again is a little bit cliche, but it works. They talk about how many times Legato's jumped them from behind. They talk about the disrespect of pulling out Isaiah Swerve Scott's grill. They talk about how much the grill is part of their culture, which, I don't know, somebody tell me down in the box below, is that as much of a stretch as I think it is? But they wanted to make it a cultural thing because they've got their hands on a luchador mask, and I know the idea is they must have stolen it from Legado del Fantasma, but it looks like the most generic luchador mask ever that you probably picked up at the dollar store for $5.99. They throw it in the bonfire. The symbolism there is obvious, and I could have sworn by the end of tonight that we were either going to get a North American Championship match between Swerve and Escobar, or whisper it, we could have got a trios match set for the pay-per-view. And we didn't, here's a little bit of a spoiler, we didn't get either of those things. So I don't know when they're planning on blowing this off. You know what I would love, honestly, if you want to give a little bit of a spotlight, don't do a title match, but throw Legado versus Hit Row on SummerSlam. Give them 10 minutes. I'm sure you can handle giving them 10 minutes. Put a little bit of a spotlight on NXT that isn't burying the champion. Didn't see the champion tonight, which is good, because he lost to Jeff Hardy in his debut match. And as I said at the time, and as I will say now, I hate anything that makes me hate on Jeff Hardy, because I've been a Jeff Hardy fan for as long as I can remember. But Jeff Hardy should not be beating the NXT champion. It's very, very messy. Anyways, so that was all kinds of setup for either that one-on-one match or that trios match. We didn't get any announced tonight, but I'm sure we will get some in the future. Then we had, all the way over from NXT UK, we got Ilya Dragunov, who comes out to talk about his match with Walter at TakeOver. Now, this is a gamble, because on the one hand, I don't think I'm alone in the fact that nobody's really watching NXT UK in the no fan, empty arena, empty BT Sports Studio era, but everybody said go back and watch Dragunov versus Walter, because in the words of my usual co-host Jake DeMarco, it is the most violent weapon that we've had in the past however many years. Sorry, it's the most violent match we've seen in however many years that didn't involve weapons. And it is, like, because they killed each other. And Ilya Dragunov shouldn't have any bones left in his body. He should be like a mass of muscle and skin just sort of schlepping around. But he's not. He made it all the way to the States. Good for him. He says he doesn't he's not one for a lot of words. Usually he doesn't put strength into his promo does kind of ramble on, so I've kind of condensed it a little bit. He doesn't put a lot of strength in his words. He concentrates on putting his strength in his fists. He says, I'll do the unthinkable. You're going to witness, when you tune in to TakeOver, you're going to witness a lot of chaos and a lot of rage. I promise you a kingdom will fall, and I will be the new NXT UK champion. He's interrupted by Pete Dunne, who comes out and basically puts himself over. He says, without me putting NXT UK on the map and carrying that brand on my back, you would not have a brand and a title and a match with Walter this weekend to look forward to. If I had stayed there, I would have put you in your place a long time ago. And Dragunov responds with the very simple, and it is a little cookie cutter, but it worked. He says, I'm going to beat Walter at the pay-per-view, something you could never do. And then he lays out a challenge for later on tonight that is later on confirmed. But it's confirmed, but why did the light go out? We don't need that. You don't get this when it's a collab, do you? Because you don't see the pretty sexy face, so you don't have the light over here. It's fine. It's weird because there was a Sonic-sponsored news break from the office of William Regal later on in the evening during some other match where they confirmed that this was going to be our main event tonight. Again, it didn't set the world on fire. It did what it was supposed to do. Ilya Dragunov got to introduce himself to the few fans that are there, just in general to the USA Network / NXT proper audience. For those out there that don't know who he is, which is fine. He got to get a challenge in against Pete Dunne. He's going to have a match tonight that can show you what he can do, and then he's going to have the match at the pay-per-view a week from Sunday. So it's all nice, slot the cards in their proper places type stuff. Didn't hurt my feelings at all. What does hurt my feelings is the $1 million bullshit story that's still going on. LA Knight took on Andre Chase with Butler Grimes in his corner. Before the match, there was a backstage promo where he was doing the very, very generic, I'm going to treat my Butler like shit stuff, and he beat Andre Chase in like 30 seconds, and the match didn't mean anything. $1 Million Man came out to give sad Cameron Grimes yet another pep talk, which was very repetitive. He lays out a challenge to LA Knight for TakeOver. One last chance for Cameron Grimes to get his hand on the $1 Million Championship. They put a stipulation in place. It's interesting the way they got around this. I will say this much, because you guys know how much I don't care about this story. I think even LA Knight is sick of having Cameron Grimes as his butler. So he puts a stipulation on this match where it's like, basically, yeah, you get one more shot at my title. If you win my title. If you lose, again, you're not my butler. $1 Million Man is. $1 Million Man says, ha ha ha, I've got a lot of money and I'm putting my money on Cameron Grimes. I'm going to say, this is piss, man. I don't care. The only thing I'm looking forward to about this match is that it'll hopefully end this story. What flipped it right on its head for me, though, is we go to the back and we get a backstage promo from Gigi Dolan, who's being very goth and very dark, which means half the fans out there won't like it because they don't think they're supposed to. And she basically cuts this promo about how other people are here for fame and glory and titles and whatnot. She name drops Io Shirai, Zoe Stark, Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and some people made this our whole life. Some people bust our lives every day for this, and I'm gonna come and I'm gonna take you all out, and I'm not alone. Which I really thought, once again, because my memory is like a sieve, I thought she was going to be bringing back Cora Jade, because when they debuted in NXT, sort of on 205 Live, in a qualifying match for the Women's Dusty Cup. And they were a tag team, and they were a pretty good tag team for the one match that I saw them in. But no, she is now accompanied to the ring by JC Jane, which is fine. I think I've seen her fight all of once. And she's taking on Amari Miller. Who is Amari Miller? It really doesn't matter. Armringer takedown by Dolan, a snapmare and a pie face, a back elbow by Dolan, a hair takedown, an arm drag, a stomp to the hands, a series of forearms, and an abdominal stretch snap roll up for the win. This was a really out of nowhere type thing. People are going to think I'm crazy for making this comparison. The first time you saw the Canadian Destroyer, you're watching it, but your brain can't process what it actually is. Now, this was not as risky or as dangerous or as coordinated as a Canadian Destroyer, don't get me wrong. But she had her in an abdominal stretch, and she just sort of like, it just looks like she twitches for a second. And that abdominal stretch turns into a roll-up with an impact to the ground. And I thought that was really cool. Now, She's a smaller wrestler. The girl, Amari Miller, who was also a relatively small wrestler, so this works. Is she going to be able to pull it off on larger wrestlers? Is she going to be able to pull it off on, say, a Raquel Gonzalez? Probably not. But I also don't think she's going to be in the title picture right away. Now, I do think this is, again, is a little bit of NXT filling slots. They had Shotzi Blackheart as their cool, fun, alternative girl for a while, but she's been stolen up to the main roster, which breaks my heart. Although, it looks like they're lining her up for a shot with Tegan Nox at the other set of women's tag team titles, which is alright. Except when are they going to have that match? Because Natty just got out of the hospital. Who knows? But, so now, instead of that type of an alternative star, now they've, instead of going for this punk rock sort of rock and roll, I'm having a lot of fun, I'm driving around on my tank thing, they've gone with a, I hate to say it, but moderately stereotypical goth character, which is fine by me. You guys know me. I'm the guy living on an island that still likes Alexa Bliss. Moving on. And yes, I'm aware that will make Michael Sidgwick from What Culture, because he's a mature adult, call me a pedophile, because I'm a fan of somebody who's well past legal age, because Michael Sidgwick's an idiot. Moving on. More weird index date stuff, and the Garganos are stalking them, and they need walkie-talkies to do that, even though they're both in the same building. It breaks my heart, it breaks my soul. Now, the face-to-face between Cole and O'Reilly, hosted by William Regal, obviously, and he's got a bunch of security around him. Now, the one thing I will say is I watched Twitter while this was going on, and two of the security guards are apparently Steiner's kid and the big jacked-up Parker Boudreaux dude. I didn't notice this until after the fact, because I was paying attention to the wrestlers who were in focus. Basically, William Regal was out there to say that this is the undisputed finale. That's what they're calling this match, which is fine. It's only moderately cheesy, but it's basically what they did at NXT Takeover Toronto 2, which I was there for, which gives me the feels right here. But it's the 2 out of 3 falls match where one competitor chooses one stipulation, one competitor chooses the other stipulation, and William Regal chooses the third stipulation. Now, on the one hand, I really like this because I was there the last time this happened. Also, it makes me think back to when I was there the last time this happened, when things were cool and fine and COVID hadn't happened, and it was the before time in the long, long ago, and NXT kind of wasn't wrung thin like it was right now. So it's kind of a one step forward, one step back. Kyle O'Reilly being the I don't want to say this, but every match that I watch in wrestling these days, I compare it to the Punk Cena thing in some small way. And in a lot of ways, there is the superstar versus the wrestler. And to take nothing away from Adam Cole as a wrestler, he is the superstar, Kyle O'Reilly is the wrestler in this scenario. So it surprises absolutely no one that he chose a regular match, because that's winning a regular straight-up pins and submissions match with Adam Cole is. That's how he's going to get him, and Adam Cole obviously says, you know what, I want to fucking destroy you because you tried to destroy me a couple weeks ago. I pick a street fight. They talk a bunch of shit. Adam Cole goes on a monologue for quite a while, and normally I would roast them for this, but his monologue on Kyle O'Reilly and how he's been riding his coattails and you're never going to measure up, you don't have the killer instinct, etc., 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 was really, really good. And they get into a shoving match, and as they're being pulled apart by these jacked up security guards, apparently 2 of which were Steiner's kid and Parker Boudreaux, William Regal shouts over all the mess that the third fall, if necessary, which means it absolutely will be necessary, will be a steel cage. Now, looking at the way these types of 3 stages of hell match go, Kyle O'Reilly picked the regular match, so I guarantee you Adam Cole's going to win that. Adam Cole picked the street fight, so I guarantee you Kyle O'Reilly's going to beat that. So by the time they get to the third fall, and they will get to the third fall, each one of them will have beaten the other one at their own game. I seriously doubt we're going to get the surprise steel cage with all the toys like we got in Toronto, because let's be real, until somebody tells me otherwise, this pay-per-view is happening in the CWC. Now, it was a little contrived in Toronto. If I want to be super picky, it was a little contrived that here's this cage that just happens to have all these weapons on top and just happens to have a platform that somebody just happened to jump off of at the end. So maybe it being a normal steel cage match will add to it. Either way, this match is going to be a hell of a match. We know what these guys can do. We saw a regular match, we saw a street fight. This time we're going to see a regular match and a street fight and a cage match in one night. And this being technically 3 matches in one does sort of explain to me why they didn't want to jam a whole bunch of extra matches onto this card. So everything works and it swings and roundabouts, but that's going to be a hell of a match, is it not? Like, let's be real for a second. Ciampa and Thatcher talk shit in the back to Dunne and Lorcan, and basically the fact that, hey, you needed to bring back your buddy Ridge Holland to beat us. Hey, we get it. We would do the same thing. And, Ridge Holland, we look at him, he looks like a superstar, we get it. Ciampa goes to challenge him, and then Thatcher says, "Please, sir, may I?" So they set up this challenge, this challenge. I can't speak tonight, I swear, and my sinuses are kicking my ass. So it's a good time all around. They set up a challenge between Ridge Holland and Timothy Thatcher. Now, the problem with this is Thatcher, as a solo wrestler, I have a really hard time getting into, and Ridge Holland, you couldn't pay me to give a rat fuck about. And they didn't tell us when this challenge was for. Please God, do not add this onto the takeover. And, I mean, if you want to throw it into the middle of next week where we're getting some other better stuff, then that's fine, that's cool, I guess. We get a promo in the back, or a pre-done video package that looks like it's going to be an Imperium pre-taped package, but it's cut off by MSK, who are doing their own version or their own slant on what Imperium did to them a couple weeks ago, interrupting their live interview with a pre-taped thing, and they did the whole thing. They had the jackets done up where it was like Imperium SK, and they basically said, hey, we're fighting champions, you want a title shot, you got a title shot. Nice and simple. As I said, they didn't put too much meat on the bone, but as we'll find out later on, they didn't really need to, and they're not the two members of Imperium that are exciting, are they? Breakout Superstar Tournament semi-final. I can speak. I swear it's really tired in here. Odyssey Jones versus Trey Baxter. Now, Trey Baxter, athletic as hell, entertaining guy from the little bit that I've seen of him, but Odyssey Jones is a brick wall. And the edict has come down from on high in the WWE, no more midgets. So how do you think this match goes? Odyssey Jones kills him. This is just what it is. Trey tries to lock on a headlock and he gets tossed off. He gets tossed by the head across the ring by Jones. A series of strikes by Trey that do nothing. He gets tossed around the ring some more by Jones. Backpack sleeper by Trey, who gets tossed off by Jones once again. 619 to the knee when Aussie Jones gets his leg hung up on the top rope and Baxter comes around with a 619 type kick to the knee. I thought was a really cool thing. It's not something I had thought of with the 619 before. He manages to hit a DDT on the big man and hit another series of kicks, but Jones gets him in the corner with an avalanche and then sort of spins him into this huge sort of black hole slam type maneuver for the win, and Odyssey Jones will take on either Carmelo Hayes or Duke Hudson in the final. It's going to be Carmelo Hayes, I'm telling you that right now. I predicted a couple weeks ago that it was going to be Odyssey Jones versus Carmelo Hayes, and I really hope Carmelo Hayes wins, but I'm not confident anymore. We got 2 massive announcements from William Regal after this. Next week is going to be Title Tuesday, where out of all their titles, 2 of them are being defended. Anyways, we are getting Imperium versus MSK for the tag team titles, and after a conversation with Malcolm Bivens, we are getting Kushida versus Roderick Strong for the Cruiserweight Championship. Now, I wonder how that's going to work out now that he doesn't have Tyler Rust to back him up anymore, because we decided to fire Tyler Rust along with, Jake Atlas and Bronson Reed and Bobby Fish and Mercedes Martinez and a bunch of other people. It's sad. Let's stop doing that. Boa has a match against Drake Maverick, and Boa does not have Xia Li in his corner, which just makes me worry. Now, there's 2 people missing from tonight's show. One was Xia Li, and one was Ember Moon. Ember Moon, they said, was not medically cleared, but with the way things are going right now, it makes you think. And Xia Li wasn't there tonight, and they didn't even mention it. But Mei Ying, actually got up out of her throne, and I don't mean that as a euphemism, down to the ring to watch the Boa match, and it was an alright match, I guess, between Boa and Drake Maverick. Drake Maverick was the scrappy underdog guy, and eventually he got the smoky, misty shit in his face from Mei Ying, and Boa got the win. That's not what I take away from this match, though. What made it legitimately popped me rotten was right in the middle of the match, when actually it wasn't in the middle of the match, he was in his opening sort of flurry, Boa actually hit him with the heart punch, like the palm thrust right to the heart, and I couldn't help but, because of the lore of the 1,000-year-old dragon lady, and it looks like Mortal Kombat, and it looks like a little bit like Street Fighter, and it's got all of those type of tropes to it. I couldn't help but think, in the back of my head, I heard that sound that we heard in our heads a lot when we were kids. If you listen very carefully, you can hear it. You can hear it right now. Hadouken! Yes, I'm that lame, because that's what I thought, and I laughed my ass off. I really, 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 really don't care. More weird index date stuff. Johnny Gargano comes out in a really, really shitty waiter's uniform and brings them a cake, and guess what? The cake ended up in Dexter's face, and then we got a really gross joke about how she's going to eat it off his face. I don't know. I really don't know about this one. We got a cool video package on Cross vs. Joe. Say it with me, say it loud, say it proud. WWE and NXT are really good at video packages. Moving on, we get our main event, which was pretty good, to be fair. The opening, everything else was okay, fine, middle, fun, except for the couple of things that you guys know I don't like. They really bookended this show tonight with two really good matches. The opening match with SARRAY and Dakota Kai was really good. I knew she was going to get chased away by Raquel Gonzalez. So at some point, I'm glad they didn't do it in the match. I'm glad they finished the match and let the match be its own thing before the Gonzalez thing took over and that story took over. It's a step in the right direction for NXT, honestly, for any WWE show. Normally, she would have just came down halfway through the match and thumped her, but she didn't do that. She let Dakota Kai get the win, build some scrap of momentum before their match in a week and a half, and then they did that. So that was a good match to begin the show. This was a very good match to end the show. I mean, I'm biased towards Pete Dunne, Destiny Wrestling, check it out for Spaz Phoenix bucket list, and as an introduction match for the mainstream NXT audience to ILJA Dragunov, this worked on a bunch of levels. I do love ILJA Dragunov's entrance, where he's got the classical Russian music playing and he's gesturing from the turnbuckle, and it's very overdramatic. Kind of bummed, and I know this is like the most minor thing ever, kind of bummed that he didn't have the red and yellow dragon contacts in that he usually has in, or has that just not been a thing for a while and I wasn't paying attention? But yeah, collar and elbow tie up and Dunne works the arm with a grounded armbar, fireman takeover by Dragunov, and a head and arm lock. Double leg pick by Dragunov, Indian deathlock by Dunne, headlock by Dunne is reversed by Dragunov into a headlock of his own, leg lariat by Dunne, kick to the spine and some chops, a matrix by Dragunov. He hit a bunch of them, and you guys know what I mean with the matrix, which Stratus used to just avoid the lariat and do the back arching thing. Dragunov does that really well, and I don't remember that being a thing before, so maybe that's new, I don't know. Follows it up with an enziguri and a suplex knee off the top by Dragunov. Is short, sweet, to the point. Here's a kneecap right in your face. Both of them battle on the top rope. Dunne works the fingers on the top rope trying to get an advantage, and then he hops down and punches Dragunov out of mid-air, which is cool as we go into the commercial break. There's an armbar by Dunne as we come back from the commercial break. Boots to the face, and both men trade some shots. A lariat by Dragunov, and then the Ambrose-style wacky line from Dragunov. Oh, yes. I wonder where that Dean Ambrose guy is now. Chops to the neck by Dragunov, which is something I remember about him, and I think it's just different enough to make you go, ooh, a little bit when you see it. Dunne works on the wrist, back fist and a senton by Dragunov with some elbow shots, knee shots by Dunne, and an armbar. He locks him in a triangle choke that Dragunov gets out of a couple of times and gets locked back into again, which is... It shows the ground game struggle, I guess, which doesn't get a lot of focus unless you've got guys like this in the match. Deadlift powerbomb by Dragunov. Dunne stomps on the hands. Enziguri by Dunne. Cross arm breaker and a suplex by Dragunov. A top rope senton by Dragunov. And the big man, Walter, shows up on the top of the entranceway. Dunne takes advantage of the distraction, hits the bitter end. Walter makes his way to the ring. Dunne and Walter kind of have a little bit of like a 2-second stare down, and then Dunne just like shrugs him off and fucks off, which I think whenever Dunne does the shrug and just fucks off, it always makes me laugh. It's just like, I could kill you, but also I don't give a shit. Like, that's just the thing. And the match is we know, in the early days of that title, the matches for the UK Championship between Dunne and Walter were fucking awesome. Walter tries to attack Dragunov, and Dragunov, being the scrappy guy that he is, he gets the advantage over him some kind of way and gets him knocked out of the ring. Now, my stream froze. Here's the lovely thing about being in Canada. Occasionally, Sportsnet gets preempted for NXT by some other sport. In this case, I think it was tennis. But you can still watch the Sportsnet stream of NXT if you put it online and then you stream it to your TV, like I do, like I used to do when I used to use Bolly Rules when Canada didn't put it on the right night. The problem with their system is you can't rewind it. So I don't know how he got the better of Walter and dumped him out of the ring, but he did. And then as I say, I hate to keep using this because I just used it for Drake fucking Maverick, but as the plucky underdog that's got a title match coming up, he ends the night as the brand new guy to this brand, holding up the title that he's going for in a week and a half as we go off the air. Now, this show will not set the world on fire by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want to overhype it that way. There are still the things that I don't like. The Dexter Lumis stuff and all the stuff around the $1 Million title are still a drag and a waste of time on this show, in my opinion. But the show definitely ramped itself back up to where it was before the pre-taped shows. It definitely gave you a little bit of like, if you've never seen NXT before, this was a great episode of NXT to give you a little slice of every bit of the pie, if that makes sense. They did a lot. It meant a lot of short matches. It meant a lot of promos that probably would have gone long were shorter. They did a lot on a show that felt fast. It felt good. It felt like NXT's sort of back to form. So I really liked tonight's show, even despite some of the more lame bits in here. And we do have shit to look forward to again. Whereas before, when it was on Sci-Fi and everything was pre-taped and all the spoilers were out, we had nothing to look forward to. So now we're on to brighter days in the black and gold universe until they fuck it up some more. Next week, on Title Tuesday, we got MSK versus Imperium for the tag titles. We got Kushida versus Strong for the Cruiserweight Championship. Both of those should be fun. Predicting right now that they're going to put that Holland versus Thatcher match on the card as well, and that will be the part of next week's review where I say, hey, Thatcher and Holland had their match, and this is who won, and I don't care. Let's move on to the Cruiserweight title match. That's how that's going to go. But looking ahead to TakeOver 36, which I really wish they had a better name for, because whenever they resort to a number, it's just, I know that they're not going anywhere. I know that I know they're not going to do TakeOver CWC, but maybe they should. Whatever the last takeover that happens in the CWC before they go out on the road again should just be called TakeOver CWC. I know that's lame. I know that's friggin' weird and not what anybody else wants probably, but hey, that's where most of my thoughts go. You got Knight versus Grimes. If I want to look at the glass half full, maybe this means this whole $1 million shit is over. I'm sure the match will be okay. If it's not, that'll be when I stop to get a drink. And I should say as well, for those of you that didn't hear the collabs that Jake and I did, SummerSlam weekend is going to be a jam-packed weekend for me, which is kind of cool, because not only do we have SummerSlam on the Saturday night and TakeOver on the Sunday night, Sunday midday I actually get to go back to a Destiny show. Don't know what any of the matches are yet. I know some of the featured wrestlers on there are going to be Aiden Prince, obviously our champion, Josh Alexander. I think Speedball Mike Bailey is coming back. I think Santino is making an appearance. I know they've said that No Way Jose is going to be like the special sort of attraction person guy, I guess. But they haven't really announced any of the matches yet, but I'll be going right from that coming home to this show, which is going to be a lot of fun, which is going to put me in a great mood for TakeOver, and then I've given myself the Monday off, so that's awesome as well. So I'm going to come from that live show, and I'm going to dive right into Knight versus Grimes, which is meh, and the light went out again. That's awesome. Gonzalez versus Kai, which isn't going to go the way I want it to, but it's still going to be a good match. Walter versus Dragunov, which if you've seen the first match, you know how good that's going to be. Joe versus Cross. I wish I could be more excited about it. It's going to be Joe taking that title off of Cross so that Cross can complete his transition over into the main roster, and it's going to put the title back on Joe, which doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Then you're going to get Cole and O'Reilly 3 in the undisputed finale 2 out of 3 falls match thing. So, yes, this match came back with a vengeance. Was it perfect? No. Am I looking forward to next week? Yes. Am I looking forward to TakeOver? Yes. So overall, is it a win? Yes. Am I grading it on a curve? Absolutely. Am I very, very tired? Absolutely. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.